What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show. Me, Sean Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com, and I am delighted to be joined by Bryan Lacey today to talk Oktagon 71. Bryan, you've had a busy time this year in the play-by-play booth, talking a lot of Oktagon. The last card was absolutely amazing, obviously with the homecoming of Dominic Humberger and the great win he had there in a very, very tough fight against Krzysztof, obviously. Before we get into this card, I have to ask you about that, because there was a lot of controversy around the signing and a lot of talk like, oh, is this the right thing to do? But he signed for his home country organization. He put on a show in that main event, and he looks like he's, on the route to a title shot here over the next year or so. That must have been an amazing one to be cage side sitting at and watching.
It was something special. Like, the whole event was crazy. I think 7 finishes throughout the night, big finishes as well. So, huge knockouts, comeback wins, and then that at the top of the card. And again, when you look at the Tip Sport game changer, and also the fact that it's their age-old rivalry for Oktagon, which is Slovakia versus the Czech Republic. It was everything that we wanted it to be. The crowd were fantastic. The fight was phenomenal. I thought Krzysztof was doing so well in that first round. He seemed to almost look, well, he just looks comfortable. He's so much more experienced than Humberger. And then Humberger just turned it up in round 2. And it was what Andre Novotny said, and it was watching a star be born. Because he has, flown the flag for the Czech Republic in KSW. He's done all that sort of stuff. But to do it in the way he did it against a legend that is Krzysztof in Oktagon, it's a big statement, a big statement. And the roof was off. And the best bit about 7 finishes, Sean, is I was back in the hotel before 11 o'clock. So that was me done. Oof, done.
No filler, so it was just fight to fight, because we see a lot of organizations, it's 30 minutes of filler. That must be I assume you've had to do that before. That must be a nightmare to do so much filler with quick finishes.
Oh, dude, it's they've got the 3 different studios. So for Oktagon, it goes out in Germany, obviously, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and the UK. And they've got a lot more content for the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Germany, because they got more fighters, more events.
Yes.
So every so often we'll be sat in the production meeting, and they'll just go, okay, Germany, you've got an interview with this guy. Somebody's going to join you on commentary. We're going to drop this promo. Czech Republic, we've got these events coming up. So we're going to show this graphic. We're going to talk to this guy from this fight card. And Luke and Brian, could you talk for 8 minutes? It's just
chat amongst yourselves.
So mini podcasts we're doing in the way, but I'm not even gonna claim to do as many podcasts as you. But that's kind of the job. But I'm not going to complain at that either. I'm not digging roads or filling boxes in factories. I'm shouting at my favorite sport for a living.
It's the job, and as you said,
it's a job, mate. I struggle. It's a job. It's what pays the bills and what gets me from A to B.
I said it's the job, not it's a job, because slightly different inflection there. Come here to me before we get into this card. Can you? And we've talked about this before, but I just want to maybe reiterate again. Could you give us like a brief overview of the countries in which Oktagon is like most successful at the moment? Because we know about the Czech Republic, obviously home base, and it's amazing there. But we've Germany this weekend in the BMW Park, obviously big arena again. What which countries have been taken over? Let's put it that way. Which ones are still, kind of to be taken over? Where are Oktagon at in the moment? Because Oktagon have put on great fights, and I look at the rankings here. There's some great fighters and all that. But the key to Oktagon is the area in which it's in, is the fan base in those areas. Can you just give us a kind of maybe a brief overview of where Oktagon are at the moment, country wise? Let's say.
Yes. Great question. So when you look at the base, Slovakia and the Czech Republic, that's the spine. That has always been what the whole promotion has been built on. But when you look at them geographically, they're not huge countries. So what has happened in the last 4 years now is the shift to Germany. And I call it the perfect storm, because Germany is a massive piece of land. It's got all different cities with different vibes. From the top of Germany to the bottom is a very different feel, people-wise, geographically. You got great gyms there, great fighters, but you just didn't have promotions delivering big shows for these fighters at the right times. And for me, watching what's happened in Germany is the culmination of Oktagon, doing what they do as far as promoting the fights, promoting the events, taking risks, going to the big arenas, recognizing stars and talent and bringing them through. and then also a country that was hungry for the sport. And that was the difference for me with, England when we came over there, is that there's so much combat sport. We've just not got a thirst for it. We're almost spoiled for you can go into every city pretty much across England across a week, and you'll be able to find something, whether it's bare knuckle, whether it's kickboxing, whether it's boxing, whether it's MMA. And for me, Germany is just so thirsty for it. So for me, what we're doing in Germany, proved by the fact we sold out that stadium, 60,000 seats, 58,000 if you want to be bang on the number in Frankfurt. That's the perfect storm. However, they've got their eyes on other territories as well. They're seeing what's going on in, other countries, whether it's France or Spain. And also now we've got a double champ from Ireland. We've got the likes of, Dennis Frimpong, Richie Smullen now signed to Ireland. I can tell you they've got their eyes on it. They're tentatively looking. And I think, I wouldn't be surprised if within 2 years we're looking at maybe not England, but maybe jumping straight to the Emerald Isle and looking at doing something there, because the talent's there as well. I think you saw it this weekend. There's a phenomenal amount of support for great fighters from great gyms over there. And I know Andre was there for the UFC when it was the night where every Irish fighter won. So from Paddy Houlihan on the first fight all the way through to Conor McGregor and Brandao on the other one. And I know that's always stayed with him. That's always stayed with him. So we'll wait, we'll see. But right now, Germany is the hotbed. And that's proved by the fact, I think at least half, if not more, of our shows this year will be in that country.
Yeah, I'm surprised. KSW were here once. I'm surprised they never came back, and I'm surprised Oktagon haven't been here, because like that KSW show, ask anyone that was there, it was one of the best shows that was ever put on. A sellout, because there's a lot of people from that region in Ireland, so
yeah, sure.
It's not just Irish fans. It is, I suppose, the diaspora from the Eastern European and Central European areas in Ireland as well will travel to it. So I'm always good and happy to hear about an Irish show. But to Germany this weekend. And we have Alexander Poppeck versus Pavol Langer in a rematch of their fight from. I was looking at, it's in June 2023, and they've both had. There's 5 fights between them since. There's been a lot has gone on since, but they're back now to fight each other again. Watch that fight last night, and by God, it's like watching twins fight or something. They're so similar. I had to keep looking at, like, one of them's in the white shorts, one of them's in black shorts. And I was like, this is tough. Even if you know the lads, even if you've studied them forever, they'll. But it was, and the way they fight, very similar. The fight itself could have gone either way. It was a split decision over 5 rounds. One of them was hurt in the first round, one of them was hurt in the second round. It's one of those the fights. I assume when you were there, you were watching it live, you thought this is going to happen again, because it's hard to watch that fight and not think it's going to happen again. And now it's happening again. Obviously I'm not as in tune with you in the ongoings backstage and the talk about this fight, but I assume it's been one that's been talked about since, and one that's long awaited maybe over the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, without a doubt. And one of the reasons isn't just the result and how close it was, but it's been the thorn in Alexander Poppeck's side. He was coming up and through in Oktagon. He had the whole look, Ironside, the Viking outfit. He looked the part, he looked like the complete fighter. So from the look outside the cage to the knockouts and the finishes in it, and it looked set for him in Oberhausen to claim the belt, to claim the status as the best fighter in Germany, the number 1 light heavyweight on German soil. And it's kind of like he let it slip through his hands. And I think when I spoke to him afterwards, and again, that bit that we get to see when you're in the hotel, whether it's the night of or at breakfast the next day, and you see the fighters and you just see where they're at. It's been a performance that has bothered him. I know that for sure. And I think that's taking a bit away from Langer, because Langer is so hard to fight. He is, durable. He's massive for a light heavyweight as well. He is a giant. He could easily be a heavyweight. When you look at Will Fleury going up, I would say Langer is more of a frame that would suit heavyweight than Fleury. But I think for this fight, it's one that Poppeck has continuously asked for. And I think it's come around now back in his home city, which again adds more pressure. And one of the questions with Poppeck throughout his career and sometimes in the fights in Oktagon as well is how he handles the pressure. Like physically, he's a beast. Skill-wise, he's phenomenal. You know, he's got knockout power. He's aggressive and devastating when he needs to be. But there is something that doesn't click, and it didn't click in Oberhausen. You could see him visibly lose confidence between rounds 3, 4, and 5, and it's bothered him. And he's wanted it. His comeback is now on his doorstep, so the crowd will be behind him. But for me, the question's going to be, can he handle the pressure? Because that's been the banana skin. That's the only thorn in the side. Everything else is there for him, not just to be a great fighter, but a superstar in Germany. And on Saturday night, we're going to find out if not just physically he's ready, but mentally as well.
It was interesting, and that's a very interesting point of it, because watching the first fight, it came down to very small margins, and we see it with every sport. Sometimes a team could win by 1 goal or 1 point or 1 basket or whatever it is, and you're thinking, the whole narrative of everything is changed based on the result. One of my favorite podcasts, the Second Captains, called it one scoreboard journalism, and I think that's really it. But in MMA, it is blown up a million times because the result is so important, because you might only fight once a year, or you might only get to rematch someone 2.5 years later.
Yeah,
and that was exactly what this was. As you said, the last 3 rounds, let's put it that way, Langer got those moments, didn't he? Poppeck had his moments in the first couple of rounds. Langer had his as well. But, it was the end of the 4th, wasn't it, where Langer got the takedown and got on top for a good while. Got a couple of takedowns throughout it. Those takedowns, Brian, they're going to be massive in this fight again, because if Poppeck is to win, you feel like he can't give away 2.5 minutes of a round to Langer in that sort of way. He has to stop those takedowns, doesn't he? And how much do you think, playing the pressure and kind of like feeling the pressure and going for it and putting yourself in a position to be taken down could be an issue as well? Because we saw it doing, you mentioned the PFL card with Paul Hughes. Like, I thought he looked fucking what would the word be, like, just the pressure had gotten to him almost, and he goes out and knocks a lad out in 42 seconds, and it was the complete opposite. But most fighters aren't like that. Like, for Pop, do you still think that's the biggest challenge for Poppeck? And those takedowns in Langer, how big of a part do you think they could play for him?
Yeah, I think both, again, 5 rounds, 25 minutes in the cage, they will know a lot about each other. Even though it's a couple of years removed from that first fight, that feel, that energy, that pressure, and those learning moments in that fight, I think, will stick with them. For me, one of the things that Poppeck has got to do is, be more technical. He thought he was going to finish Langer in round 1 or round 2. He thought that was coming. And you have to respect the durability of a fighter like Pavol Langer. He's 24 fights in. He's claimed that interim title. He's beaten some big names, Rafael Javier as well, on the roads to get in that fight. So I think Poppeck is going to have to, it's not the most exciting word to have in your head before you go into, a cage fight, but respect. I think he's got to respect Pavol Langer. And for me, Langer has got to have I think he's got to have confidence. I think everybody saw him as the massive underdog. His team were the only ones that really counted themselves in for that fight. And now I think he's got to just believe he can do it. The pressure's off him because, again, you look at the odds, you look at the story, you look at the city, the backdrop, everything is on the shoulders of Poppeck. But Langer, with that size and the takedowns and how heavy he is on top, that for me will be something that I'm sure in his head will go, that's the edge. That's all I got to do. Withstand the storm, put it in that space where I can get it to the mat. And when it's there, tire Poppeck out and see it through, because this could be another big victory for Langer, and we're going to see if the Poppeck we want to show up shows up.
Do you think doing a Erdistel fight Will Fleury next? Are they going to put themselves in line? They're both highly ranked, obviously, in the division, right there, thereabouts.
I think it's the fight, right? I think in the light heavyweight, if you were to look up and down it, there's some new names coming in, but this is the one for me. Poppeck is. it's his chance to claim that, and you've got to ask for it as well. And I'm sure Will would not turn down either of these guys. And Langer's already held the belt. He's got a real special place in Octagon fans' hearts because he's so unique. He's so different. Like even the way he walks and he talks and around the hotel, and somehow this authentic, weird character has really captured the hearts. But for me, this is the one. This is the one where we will see. Who fights Will next.
So to move on a little bit here, we have a bit of breaking news. We'll probably actually have broken before this, but Shamrock's initial opponent is out, and he will be getting a big step up here and fighting Attila Korkmaz instead on Saturday night, which is Shim has been calling for a lot of names for a long time. He's ranked number 10 at the moment. I'm looking here, Korkmaz number 6. If he was to win this and go up in the rankings like that, we know the way he talks, he could talk himself into something very, very big very soon. But on short notice, Brian, I assume this is the fight that a lot of Octagon fans are going to be very, very happy with, that they weren't maybe expecting when they bought their tickets. But it's a big opportunity for Shim, isn't it? And fair play to Korkmaz coming in short notice for this one.
Yeah, for me, I was sad when I heard the news that Hajayev had come out, and then the question is always who, and you look in those rankings, who can be ready quick enough, who would even take the fight, because it's not an easy fight to take. Shem is, he's, as he calls it, the Shem show. So he's fully on at the press conferences. He gets a lot of attention. And then he's a nightmare in the cage. Though you look at the finishes he's got already just in the octagon cage. But Korkmaz, for me, is fascinating because he's so hard to beat. I think his last time he was finished was like 2012 or something when I was watching some fights back. And he's fought already Ronnie Paradisi, took him on, and that was fairly short notice. Took him to a split decision. That's the former lightweight champion for Octagon. He then finished with a phenomenal power bomb into a one-handed armbar. Amir Khani, that was in the stadium. That was in the Eden Stadium last year. And then he lost his last fight, which was to Agi Sadari, which was so exciting, so much fun, so technical between these two. It's one of those fights that, if you know European MMA, it's a beautiful matchup, and it delivered. So he's well-rounded. He's great on the feet. He's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And he put something out on his social media because he thought the Dimic versus Aksu fight, which is the first fight on the card, he thought Aksu might come out because he's got a history of back problems and there's been a number of cancellations. So he threw a little gauntlet out saying, I'm training Dimic. I'll be ready. Just be ready for another Turkish fighter to come to step in for that one. So I know that he's not at a full camp, but he has had, 3-4 weeks where he's had his eye on this card, and that's led to him now taking on Shem. And for me, we know how good Shem is, but I don't think he's faced in the octagon cage an opponent as legit as this. Jan Malak, I love him, but he is primarily a striker and a kickboxer. We saw that with the loss to Shem and then also to Aksu, both by rear naked choke. The Picorni, the fight that everybody wanted, they got cancelled in Manchester. Picorni was always going to go that way. Picorni is game as they come. He's tough, but technique-wise, Shem just exposed him with the rear naked choke. And then Stefano Cotticoli, I just think he bit off too much too early in his career with Shem. So, but this one with Korkmaz, he's fought in ACB. He's fought monsters over there. I've called some of those fights against, seasoned Dagestani and Chechen wrestlers, and he's done phenomenally well. He's fought Bellator. He's fought on all the big promotions, and he's got a complete skill set. So I love it. I love this fight. I love this matchup. You said it as well. It's the fight we didn't know we wanted, but now it's here. It's definitely the one I've got my eye on.
Yeah, watching Korkmaz there this morning when I heard the news, I'll be honest, I've realized, I called the other two lads kind of twins. I mean, I've never seen someone fight as similar to Gunny Nelson as he does. He's the exact
the
same
stance as well, right?
Yeah,
oh my God, yes.
He's the exact same as him.
Yeah.
And like he kind of, the way he, there's something jumping in front of me, the way he kind of dips down and the low hands, but then he carries them up and throws that lovely kind of front hook with the you know, maybe he's not as good on the ground as Goody now, don't get me wrong, but he's good on the ground as well. And, you know, Shim's last 3 wins in a row, all submissions pretty early in the fight. And I think, well, I'm just looking at here, was it 8 submissions in his career out of 10 wins? He's 10-1. Like, that's a sneaky, very, very good record. You know, the one loss was to Nathan Kelly, who, you know, we've seen how good Nathan has become over the last 3 or 4 years. So there's no shame in that whatsoever. And, you know, I know Shim has been training over in Manchester, but was he training with Paddy Pimblett gym as well a good bit? And, you know,
next gen.
You know, we know how good people out of that gym have been. Look at all the lads coming through in cage warriors and going to the UFC and all. It's, you know, it's a lights out gym over the last couple of years. So that, like, you would think this is a big step up for Shim to fight Korkmaz, but Shim has been fighting people in the gym who are just as good as Korkmaz, are like on a world level. So it's a very, very interesting fight. To put a fight like that together on short notice, fair play to the matchmakers over there.
Yeah, fair play to Korkmaz as well, right?
Yeah.
Fair play, like, you
100%.
know, because he's 1 and 2 in Oktagon, so he's lost 2, but again a close fight with Sadari, a close fight with Paradisa, and now stepping in against Shem is massive. But I love it. I love how game he is, and I think how technical this fight's going to be. I think this is for me, a better fight than what we were going to get from Hojayev.
Yeah. The Irish on tour over in Germany on it's Saturday night, isn't it? I went through an event there recently, and I was like, oh, it's Saturday, and then at the end I was like, it's actually Friday, so this is Saturday, isn't it? It is Saturday. What about Dennis Frimpong? Because, like, I'll be honest, I'll throw it straight out here. I was not the biggest believer in Dennis Frimpong in the world. But after that performance against Robin Frank, he has turned me around. That was such a good performance. Like, we obviously spoke about it, and I did a good bit of study on Robin Frank before it. And Robin's a very, very good fighter, like, absolutely no joke. And Dennis went in, and he just destroyed him in that fight. Like, what a great win. And he's coming in here against Arjan Topalo, whose name I presume I absolutely destroyed there. And he's a good fighter as well. We talk about him in a second. But what about Dennis in that performance? Like, I know a lot of people do believe in Dennis, and maybe I've been harsh on him, but I'm a believer now. That was such a great performance, wasn't it? And I think it's put Dennis to another level coming into this fight, Brian, where if he wins this, it's bigger things ahead, absolutely, for him.
Yeah. I think you look at the Octagon Challenge series, and he, for me, stole the show because of the talk, the trash talk, even the performances. The fight with Bo Gavin was phenomenal, and that's down to Bo's heart. But for me, Frimpong, with that performance against Robin Frank, and for people that don't know Robin Frank, he was undefeated coming into that 5-0. Touted as one of the big stars to come, and not just out of Stuttgart, but out of Germany. You had fighters like, fighting gyms, talking about him, not just in Stuttgart, but places like Spitfire and Berlin, the Spitfire gym in Berlin, talking about just how good he was, like, everywhere. Yesin Ayari did an interview, and like 4 minutes of it was talking about sparring with Robin Frank and how good he was and how excited he was to see how far he goes. And Frimpong came in, did all that he usually does with the talking and the weigh-ins and all the kicking off of the face-offs. And it was one of the most technical and disciplined and dominant performances I've seen from him. And you talked about Shem and the gym he comes from. You look at the mats and the sparring and the pictures that come up from Manchester Top Team and the fighters that are traveling there to get better. He lives in that gym pretty much. And for me, you can't turn up day in, day out to a place like that and not get better with the people you're sparring with the coaches like Carl Prince guiding you and pushing you through. So I was so impressed. And like you said, I think it's made people recognize how good he is. And he did the face-to-face with Ryan Topalai, which again sort of gives you an idea where Octagon see him, because that's a quite expensive bit of promotion to do, and to bring them to him to make that shows that they've got faith in both these guys. But Frimpong is coming into his own, and he said it in the face-to-face where he's not out to, because one of the things Topalai said was, oh, you don't finish people. And Frimpong said this beautiful phrase, I don't want to finish you, I want to break you. And he did that to Robin Frank. He drowned him, talking in his ear all the way through. And it's the standout performance against a top prospect. So he's asked for this fight. He used it again. He's so good on the mic. He said, they gave me a Robin, and what I truly wanted was an eagle. And then Topolaya's nickname is the Albanian Eagle. Next thing you know, they're pushing each other in the crowd. And on Saturday night, we get to see him go, face to face. It's great.
Yeah, like Topolaya is a very, very good fighter too. Like watching him, very good on the outside, loose, heavy kicks, lovely jab, and he's a finisher as well, isn't he? He's one. I understand why he's talking to someone else about finishing, because he's such a good finisher. Like there was one of the fights I was watching, he pulled a standing darts choke, and he ended up getting finished, and he got it. Like he's just one of those guys. But again, hard to bet against Frimpong based on what he did last time out. But an interesting matchup. The last fight I want to touch on it fully, and then we can run through the rest of the card. I don't know how I've gotten this far without talking about the main event, because it's Hafini Nafuka against George Sains. If people don't know these two lads or don't know much about Oktagon, this is the fight. This is an amazing fight. Like Nafuka coming off of that loss, obviously, to Ivan Bushinger, but like we just spoke about Arjan Topal. He beat him in the fight before that. His only other loss is to Bogdanovic, a guy who had 20 more fights in him or something like that. He's still only young, 7-2, and they're putting him in there against George Sains, a 3-0 who beat Dennis Frimpong, who we just spoke about, and won 2 fights after it. His last win against Jacob Tichoy looked really, really good in that. Again, an unbelievable wrestler like Staines is. Nafuka can fight everywhere as well. Has been wrestling a lot of lads and using his sheer size and will and everything just to destroy lads. You're going to have to take over the podcast here, Brian. I'm too excited about this. So I
love it. But you're so right. It's like two top prospects coming together, and they've both got amazing stories. Nafuka is somebody that got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've mentioned this before. Like his parents brought him over from Namibia, refugee, bullied, all this stuff, and he saw how hard they were working. He found Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and like I said before, we said this on the podcast before, it's incredible. I think he was 6-0 when he came to Oktagon, and he was just training in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym, like very limited striking, sparring partners, even somebody looking after him, and that the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coaches didn't come to weigh-ins. He would cut weight on his own as a kid in the hotel, go and weigh himself in, and then the coaches would arrive later. Now he's moved to Munich top team. Now he also trains with Reza Medadi when he goes over to Alicante. So he's now got a gym behind him. He's now got a team behind him. George Staines, just one of the most unassuming, beautiful humans you will ever meet in your life, and a monster inside the cage. And you look at his amateur record, getting all the way to European gold medalist, claiming that victory, then moving into the pro ranks. And now he as well has moved to next gen. So this last 2 fights, the Takota fight and this one, will be his first 2 camps at next gen. And you'll listen to the interviews. If you watch Paddy Pimlet's talking about his gym and his team, George Staines got a big shout out there. Like he was as a main sparring partner, as somebody that pushes him, and he's grateful to have in his camp. So for me, the Takota fight was, and even the gym said they had Paul Rimmer there talking about, this is the first time we've actually been able to do a full camp. Now they've had him for 2 full camps, and he's looking as good as he's ever looked. Nobody, a lot of people turned this fight down. Arjan Topolaya allegedly turned this fight down. So that says a lot about, what the other people in the division think of George Staines. But these two coming together, both great grapplers, both beautiful personalities. And for them to meet this early in their career, it's like you said, it's the fight. It's the fight, because I'm looking forward to remembering calling these fights when I am seeing wherever these guys go, because they are, and it sounds cliche, but they are the future.
I was thinking up about something to say there when I came back. Do you know, if someone had asked me to tell him an Oktagon title fight in 2027,
Dude,
this would be it. You know,
that's
this
great. That's so good.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the fact, some people would argue maybe it shouldn't be happening now, right? And I see an argument to that, especially when Staines is only 3-0 and he's such a good prospect. But let the victor have the spoils, as they say. Bryan, run us through the rest of this card. I know there's some good names. A lot of Czech fighters, a lot of German fighters on this. Who should people be looking out for in the rest of the card?
Yeah, I think one of the fighters or fights to look out for is Tomáš Mudrok versus Ozan Aslana. Mudrok announced himself again. He's only young in his pro career, but they're looking for new Czech stars, and he is going to be one of them. He had an amazing debut in his home city of Trinec, did an up kick, which knocked the guy down and followed it up to get the finish. The up kick went viral, which was great to see. Big personality, great fighting style against Ozan Aslana, who also beat Jakub Tikota. And Tikota is no joke. So these two coming together for me are one. One of the other guys, Tamerlan Dulatov, brother of Islam Dulatov, is on the card. And you kind of look at star power, and we've got the likes of Eklund, Jungwirth, fighters like that, Vermola in the Czech Republic. The Dulatov name is something special. We've been to a number of different cities where we've had Islam, and we've had now Tamerlan in 2 different cities, and now we're going to a third one. And there was a remarkable uptake of tickets when we announced him. So if you're looking at future stars, personalities, I would say definitely keep an eye on Dulatov as well. But yeah, the card is great, mate, and it's going to be another exciting night. And the fact we got 3 English, Irish names on the card is exciting for me as well, because just having that buzz and feeling that, and the quality of the fights that we're delivering for these guys is something special. Plus,
you could tune in and you could see a paper plane throwing contest or something like that.
That's right. You never know. You never know. Maybe we'll stop the event and do rock paper scissors or something like that.
I love it. Get me on to do a podcast in the middle of it when you.
I might need you. I have to do a lot of fill because the other guys get all the content. So if you're about, mate.
I'm around. I'm always around. Bryan, thank you very much for joining me. Everybody, tune in. Octagon 71, May 17th. Octagon TV. Catch it around the world. It's going to be great. And we'll leave it there. Bryan, thank you. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com. We'll see you all next time.